I still remember the sound. Not a scream, not a whisper. Something in between. Wet, muffled. Like someone trying to cry through a mouthful of cloth. That sound haunted me long before I saw what made it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start with the night I saw my brother in the hallway, wearing my dead father's face. Yes, you heard that right. I'm not speaking in metaphors, not talking about a family resemblance. I mean it literally. My father, buried 3 weeks ago, cold, dead, and gone. Yet, there was his face, blinking at me in the dark hallway of our old creaking house, worn by the only person I had left in this cursed family, my brother Nathan. I should have run, screamed, called someone, but I just stood there, frozen, heart pounding like a drum in my throat. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. My legs refused to move. Nathan, or whatever that thing was, tilted his head slowly. The skin around the eyes sagged. The mouth wasn't quite aligned with his. The whole face looked loose, like it might slide off at any second. He spoke, in Dad's voice. "You're up late, son." I don't remember falling, just the cold floor under my hands and knees. Then everything went black. When I woke up, it was morning. The house was quiet. Sunlight poured through the cracked blinds in my room, making dust float like tiny ghosts in the air. For a second, I convinced myself it was just a nightmare. A very real nightmare. Until I saw the muddy footprints, leading from my bedroom door all the way to the basement. And one of them was shaped wrong, almost like someone had walked barefoot, but their toes were broken, bent the wrong way. I followed them like an idiot. My hands were shaking. My heart told me to stop, but my curiosity had claws. It dragged me forward. The basement door stood slightly open. We hadn't used the basement since Dad's funeral. Too many memories down there. His workshop, his tools, the smell of sawdust and cigarette smoke. I hated it. But I pushed the door open anyway. The stairs creaked as I went down. Every step felt like I was walking into a grave. The basement was dark, but I didn't turn on the light. I don't know why. Maybe part of me didn't want to see. Then I heard it again. That sound. The wet, muffled noise, like someone trying to laugh and sob at the same time. It was coming from behind the curtain that split the room in half. We'd hung that old sheet to block the view when Dad was building something. Behind it now was something else, something alive. I crept closer. "Stop it," I whispered to myself. "Just go back upstairs." But my hand was already reaching for the curtain. I pulled it back and found nothing. Just the workbench, the old vise, the jars of screws and wires, dust, cobwebs, and a pile of clothes, Dad's clothes, folded neatly on the table. No sign of Nathan. No sign of the mask. I was about to turn back when I saw the mirror. Old, cracked, dusty. But in the reflection, I saw him, standing right behind me. Nathan. His face, normal. His eyes, empty. He smiled. "Hey man," he said, voice calm. "You okay?" I turned around fast. He looked like himself again. No mask, no blood, no horror. Just my brother, being weird. I saw you last night," I stammered. "You were wearing Dad's jacket?" he said, cutting me off. "Yeah, I was cold. Didn't think it would freak you out." "And that wasn't it," I whispered. "And was more than that." He stepped forward, put a hand on my shoulder. "Oh, and you've been tired," he said. "And not sleeping, seeing things. It's okay, I get it." His grip tightened. "Tight, you miss him. So do I." I stared at his eyes. Something behind them twitched, just a flicker of something wrong. I nodded slowly, but inside my thoughts were screaming. He was lying, and I needed to find out why. That night, I didn't sleep. I waited, and just past 2 a.m., I heard the creaking, slow steps going down the stairs to the basement. I followed, barefoot, silent. When I reached the bottom, I peeked through the curtain, just a crack. And what I saw, it wasn't Nathan anymore. He stood hunched over the workbench, a knife in one hand, something soft and pale in the other. He was sewing, stitching, human skin. And beside him, hanging from a hook, was a second face, one I hadn't seen before. Not Dad's, someone else. Someone still fresh. I didn't move. I couldn't. Through the small gap in the curtain, I watched Nathan, if that thing was even still Nathan, work with focused care. The dim basement bulb swung slightly overhead, casting long shadows that danced across the cracked concrete. His hands, slick with something dark, stitched the skin like it was fabric. It made a faint slap every time his fingers pressed it flat on the table. The second face hanging beside him. It didn't belong to anyone I recognized, but it was real. Flesh, eyelashes still attached. lips partly open as if caught mid-sentence, and Nathan just hummed, calm, gentle, as if he were sewing buttons onto a shirt, not reassembling a human face. I stepped back quietly, trying not to breathe too loud. The stairs behind me felt miles away. I took one step, then another. My heel hit a loose board. It creaked. His humming stopped. Silence. Then a slow scrape of the chair being pushed back. I didn't look. I just ran. Up the stairs, skipping steps. My heart pounded like thunder in my ears. I slammed the basement door shut, locked it, and stumbled backward, falling into the hallway wall. My breath came in ragged bursts. Down there, he wasn't wearing a mask. He was making one. For the next hour I sat in my room, gripping the baseball bat from under my bed. Every creak in the house made my skin crawl, but the basement stayed quiet. Too quiet. At dawn I went back. The basement door was unlocked. Everything was gone. No masks, no flesh, no blood. The table was clean. No curtain, no face on a hook. Even the workbench had been wiped down. Only the faint smell of bleach hung in the air. When I went back upstairs, Nathan was in the kitchen, frying eggs. "Morning," he said with a smile. "You okay? You look like hell." I stared at him, my mouth dry. He looked the same. Normal, the same stupid dimple when he smiled, the same lazy posture. But I knew, deep down, I knew that wasn't all him anymore. "Will you sleep okay?" he asked, setting a plate in front of me. I didn't answer, just stared at the egg. It looked like a face. 2 yolks, 1 slice of bacon below them like a mouth. He noticed. "Something wrong with your breakfast?" he asked, tilting his head. I forced a laugh. "No, just tired." And for the next 3 days I acted like everything was fine, but at night I stayed awake, listening. The noises came back, shuffling, sometimes a low growl. One night I swore I heard someone crying behind the walls. Then on the 4th night, I saw it again. Another face, in the trash, this one older. A woman maybe, shriveled. But the eyelids still fluttered. Just once, I screamed. Nathan ran in from the other room, pretending to be confused. "What? What happened?" I pointed at the trash, empty. He shook his head. "You're losing it, man. You need sleep." Maybe I was losing it, but I started to search the house. Every inch, every vent, crawl space, hollow wall. And that's when I found the journal, tucked in the attic, behind a loose board. It wasn't written like a normal journal. No dates, just pages of thoughts, scrambled, broken, disturbing. And the first time was hard, but he didn't scream. They rarely scream when it starts. They don't understand yet. And Dad fought. He saw what I was doing in the garage. That's why I had to wear him first. When in face doesn't just hide me. It shows me who I'm supposed to be. It lets me become them. I'm better with their skin. But it doesn't last. I need more. They rot too fast. I dropped the book, backed away like it was poison. He killed our father. He became him. And now, he was collecting more. That night, I planned to run, leave everything behind. But before I could pack, I heard a knock at the front door. 3 sharp knocks. I peeked out the window. A woman stood there, soaking wet from the rain. Her eyes were wide, terrified, blood on her sleeve. She looked over her shoulder, then back at the door. I opened it just a crack. "Please," she whispered. "Is he here? Did you see him?" "Who?" She looked around, panicked. "To man with no face." I froze. "Odd he wears others," she whispered. "And were my husband's." He took his voice. I saw him peel it off like paper. I opened the door wider, but before I could speak, I heard the sound again. That wet, broken sound. From behind me, I turned. Nathan was standing at the top of the stairs, wearing a face I didn't recognize, and smiling. I stood frozen at the open door, the storm howling outside, the strange woman behind me trembling like a leaf. Nathan, if it was still really him, stood at the top of the stairs. But the face on his head didn't belong to anyone I knew. It sagged just a little around the cheeks. The mouth didn't move with his words, just hung open, as if forever surprised. He tilted his head slowly. "Bringing home guests, little brother?" I didn't respond. I couldn't. My brain was screaming, but my body wouldn't move. The woman behind me whispered, "That's not a face. That's a mask made of someone else." I swallowed hard and slowly shut the door, locking it without breaking eye contact with Nathan. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stood there like a puppet with invisible strings. Then he stepped down, one slow step at a time. Drip, drip. His clothes were wet with blood. The house echoed with the sound of it hitting the wood. I grabbed the woman's hand. "Oh, run!" She didn't hesitate. We dashed toward the back of the house, past the kitchen, through the hallway, knocking over furniture as we went. I remembered the trapdoor near the laundry room, an old storm cellar built into the floor. I yanked it open and we both dove in, slamming it shut just as Nathan reached the corner. Silence. Then the sound of him dragging something across the floor. We backed deeper into the darkness, stepping over old crates, rusted tools, and the smell of wet earth. There was no light, just the sound of our breathing and the storm above. "Who is he?" I asked. "He used to be a man," she whispered. "But he's taken too many faces. Now he doesn't know who he really is. He doesn't even remember his own name." "Fight my father? Because your father tried to stop him." I shook my head. "Nathan is my brother. He's always been." She looked at me, her eyes shining in the dark. "Are you sure?" That question hit me like a punch in the gut. I started remembering things. Photos with Nathan in them, but always slightly out of focus. No baby pictures, no birth certificate. Just a kid who showed up one day and stayed. My dad used to whisper about something he saw, some mistake he made. I never understood, until now. Suddenly, the trapdoor above us creaked. Then, silence. We held our breath. A shadow fell across the cellar. Slowly, Nathan's face, or whatever he was wearing, peeked in. Upside down, just eyes and that loose smile. The skin shifted as he moved. It didn't fit. Come out," he sang softly. "I just want to wear you for a while." I raised the rusted shovel I'd grabbed earlier, waited for his head to dip lower, and swung. Crack! He tumbled down the stairs, landing in a heap of bones and dust. The woman grabbed a crowbar and lunged. I followed. We hit him again and again, the skin peeling, tearing, until underneath there was nothing. No face, just smooth skin, no mouth, no eyes, no nose, just a blank pale surface. But somehow, it still screamed, that horrible, muffled, wet sound. We kept hitting, kept screaming, until the thing stopped moving. We stood over it, gasping, bleeding. The storm above had passed and the air was deadly still. I looked down. The face I thought belonged to Nathan slid off like a wet rag. It wasn't him. It never was. That night we burned the body in the backyard. Every part of it. We didn't know if fire would stop it, but we had to try. The woman left before sunrise, disappearing into the fog. She didn't tell me her name, just looked back once and said, "He's not the only one." I stayed, tried to return to normal life. But nothing's normal anymore. Every time I see a stranger's face, I wonder, is it really theirs? Every time I hear footsteps behind me, I flinch. And sometimes, late at night, I see a new face in my mirror. Not mine, just watching and smiling.